Lisa had never been to a livestock auction before. Her friend Jake called her that morning and said he needed company. While he looked for cattle for his small ranch, she figured why not. It was a Saturday, the weather was nice, and she had nothing else planned out. The drive to the auction house took about an hour through winding country roads. Lisa rolled down her windows and enjoyed the fresh air. She had lived in the city her whole life, so these rural areas always felt peaceful to her. Jake chatted about his plans for the ranch while she watched farms and fields roll by. When they arrived, Lisa was surprised by how busy the place was. Cars and pickup trucks filled the gravel parking lot. People wearing cowboy hats and work boots walked around carrying clipboards and coffee cups. The smell of hay and animals filled the air. It was a whole different world from her office job. Downtown. Jake led her toward the main building, explaining how auctions worked. He seemed to know everyone there, stopping to shake hands and chat with other ranchers. Lisa felt a bit out of place in her clean sneakers and city clothes, but everyone was friendly enough. The auction barn was loud and busy. Men with microphones called out numbers rapidly. While people raised their hands or nodded to place bids, Lisa watched, fascinated by how quickly everything moved. Cows and horses were brought out, shown to the crowd, and sold within minutes. After about an hour, Jake found what he was looking for and made his purchase. While he handled the paperwork, Lisa decided to walk around and explore. She had noticed there were other buildings on the property and was curious about what else might be there. She followed a dirt path past some empty pens and found herself at a smaller building. This one was quieter, but she could hear animals inside. The door was open, so she walked in. The atmosphere here felt completely different from the main auction barn. This building was dimmer and had a sad feeling to it instead of the excited energy of the cattle auction. This place felt heavy and quiet. There were several small pens along the walls, and Lisa could see dogs and cats in some of them. A few people wandered around looking at the animals, but there was none of the quick bidding action she had seen earlier. A sign near the entrance caught her eye. It read "Last Chance Auction. All animals must go today." Lisa felt her stomach drop as she realized what this meant. These were unwanted pets, not livestock. Someone had surrendered them, and now they needed new homes immediately. She walked slowly past the first few pens. There was an old beagle with gray around his muzzle, sleeping in the corner. A young cat with beautiful orange stripes paced nervously in her small space. Lisa had never owned a pet herself, but something about seeing these animals in such a desperate situation made her heart ache. Near the back of the building, she found a pen that made her stop completely. Inside was a dog that looked like she had given up on everything. She was some kind of shepherd mix, with brown and black fur that was matted and dirty. But what struck Lisa most was how thin she was. Her ribs showed clearly through her dull coat, and her hip bones stuck out sharply. The dog was lying on her side, breathing slowly and heavily. She didn't even lift her head when Lisa approached. Her eyes were open but seemed to look at nothing. There was a piece of cardboard taped to the front of the pen with writing on it. "No reserve, must go today," was scribbled in black marker. Lisa knelt down next to the pen. "Hey girl," she said softly. The dog's ears twitched slightly, but she didn't move otherwise. Lisa could see that her water bowl was nearly empty and her food dish had just a few kibbles. Scattered in it. An older man wearing overalls walked by, and Lisa stopped him. "Excuse me, what happens if nobody takes her?" The man looked at the dog and shook his head sadly. "Well, miss, if she don't get claimed by closing time, we got to put her down. She's been here 3 times now. People just don't want a sick dog, especially one this far gone." Lisa felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. She looked back at the dog, who still hadn't moved. "How much time is left?" "About 2 hours till we close up," the man said. "Real shame too. She's probably a good dog under all that. Just needs someone to care about her." After he walked away, Lisa stayed by the pen for a long time. She had never made a big decision quickly in her life. She always made lists, asked friends for advice, and thought things through carefully. but looking at this dog who had clearly lost all hope, something inside her felt different. She thought about her small apartment in the city. She worked long hours at her accounting firm and barely had time to take care of herself, let alone a pet. She knew nothing about dogs, especially sick ones. The veterinary bills would probably be enormous. Her lease might not even allow pets. But every time she started to walk away, she found herself turning back to look at the dog again. There was something about the way she lay there, so completely defeated, that Lisa couldn't ignore. It wasn't fair that this creature's life would end just because she was inconvenient. Lisa pulled out her phone and called Jake. When he answered, she could hear the noise of the main auction in the background. "Jake, I need to ask you something. That building behind the cattle barn, do you know what goes on there?" "Oh, that's where they auction off the pets and such, mostly animals people can't keep anymore." "Why?" Lisa explained what she had found. Jake listened quietly, then sighed. "Lisa, I know you got a good heart, but taking on a sick dog is no joke. You ever had a pet before?" "No, but those vet bills can run thousands. And if she's as bad off as you say, she might not even make it." Lisa knew he was right, but she also knew she couldn't leave without trying. "What if I just can't live with myself if I walk away?" There was a long pause. Finally, Jake said, "Well, then I guess you already know what you got to do. I'll wait for you in the truck." Lisa hung up and looked at the dog again. This time, maybe. Sensing her presence, the dog's eyes moved to meet hers. For just a moment, Lisa thought she saw something flicker in those tired eyes. Maybe hope. Or maybe just the faintest recognition that someone was actually looking at her. The auctioneer's voice echoed through the building. "Next up, lot number 47. German Shepherd mix, female. No reserve." Lisa's heart started racing. This was it. She had about 30 seconds to decide whether to completely change her life for a dog she had known for less than an hour. She looked at the dog one more time, took a deep breath, and raised her hand. The auctioneer looked surprised when Lisa raised her hand. She was probably the youngest person in the building, and definitely the only one wearing office clothes instead of farm gear. A few people turned to stare at her, which made her cheeks burn red. "We have a bid," the auctioneer called out. "Do I hear 25? Lisa's heart pounded. $25. That was less than she spent on lunch some days. But right now it felt like the most important money she had ever spent. She nodded quickly before she could change her mind. The auctioneer waited a few seconds. Looking round the room, nobody else raised their hand. Most people were shaking their heads and whispering to each other. Lisa heard someone behind her say, "That dog ain't worth the gas money to drive her home." "Sold to the young lady for $25, the auctioneer announced, pointing at Lisa. Next lot coming up. Lisa felt dizzy. She had actually done it. She owned a dog now. A very sick dog that she had no idea how to care for. Her hands were shaking as she walked to the front desk to pay. The woman behind the counter looked at her paperwork and then at Lisa. "First time here, honey?" "Yes, ma'am," Lisa said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Well, you got yourself a project there. That dog's been through a rough time. You sure you know what you're getting into?" Lisa signed the papers quickly before she could think too much about the question. "I guess I'll figure it out." Getting to the dog's pen felt like the longest walk of her life. When she got there, the same man in overalls was waiting with a worn-out leash. "She don't bite," he said kindly. "Just scared and tired. You got a car that can handle her?" Lisa nodded, though she wasn't sure about anything anymore. Her small sedan wasn't exactly built for transporting animals, but it would have to work. The man opened the pen door and gently slipped the leash around the dog's neck. She didn't resist. But she didn't help either. It was like she was too weak to care what happened to her. When he tried to encourage her to stand up, her legs shook so badly that Lisa thought she might collapse. "Come on, girl," Lisa said softly, kneeling down beside her. "Let's get you out of here." The dog looked at her with those same tired eyes from before. Slowly, very slowly, she managed to get to her feet. Each step seemed to take enormous effort. Lisa had to stop every few yards to let her rest. Getting her into the car was another challenge. The dog was too weak to jump and too heavy for Lisa to lift easily. Finally, with the help of the man in overalls, they managed to get her settled. In the back seat, Lisa had grabbed an old blanket from her trunk and spread it out for her. Jake was waiting by his truck, looking worried. He walked over to Lisa's car and peered in the back window. "Lord have mercy," he said quietly. "Lisa, you sure about this?" Lisa looked back at the dog, who had already laid her head down and closed her eyes. She looked so fragile and broken. "No," Lisa admitted. "I'm not sure about anything, but I couldn't leave her there." Jake nodded slowly. "Well, you're gonna need a vet, and fast. I know a good one about 20 minutes from here." "Want me to call and see if she can see you today?" Lisa felt a wave of relief. She hadn't even thought about finding a veterinarian. "Would you?" "That would be amazing." While Jake made the phone call, Lisa sat in her car and really looked at what she had gotten herself into. The dog was breathing heavily, and Lisa could see her ribs moving with each breath. Her nose was dry and warm, and her eyes looked dull and unfocused. For a moment, Lisa wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. She didn't know anything about dogs. She lived in a tiny apartment with thin walls and neighbors who complained about everything. She worked 50 hours a week and barely had time to grocery shop, let alone care for a sick animal. But then the dog shifted slightly in the back seat, and for just a second, her tail moved. It wasn't really a wag, more like a tiny flutter, but it was something. Maybe she somehow knew that someone had finally chosen her. Jake came back to the car. "Good news. Dr. Rodriguez can see you in an hour. She's staying late just for this." "How much do you think it's going to cost?" Lisa asked. Though she was afraid of the answer, Jake looked at the dog again and shook his head. "Hard to say. Could be a few hundred, could be more. Depends on what's wrong with her." Lisa did some quick math in her head. She had about $800 in her savings account. It was supposed to be her emergency fund, but she supposed this counted as an emergency. The drive to the vet clinic was quiet except for the dog's heavy breathing. Lisa kept checking on her in the rearview mirror, worried that she might stop breathing altogether. She had never felt so responsible for another living thing before. Dr. Rodriguez's clinic was a small building with a hand-painted sign out front. When Lisa pulled up, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes was waiting outside. She helped Lisa carry the dog inside, supporting most of her weight. "Poor baby," Dr. Rodriguez murmured as she examined the dog on the metal table. "She's severely malnourished and dehydrated." "When did you say you got her?" "About an hour ago," Lisa said. "From the auction?" Dr. Rodriguez nodded knowingly. "I see a lot of animals from those places. This girl's been neglected for a long time. Her body temperature is too low, and I can feel her hip bones clearly. We need to get some fluids in her right away." Lisa watched as the doctor inserted in 4-line and began explaining everything that needed to be done. Blood tests, x-rays, medications, special food, follow-up visits. The list seemed endless. "I have to be honest with you," Dr. Rodriguez said gently. "This is going to be expensive, and there's no guarantee. She's in pretty bad shape." Lisa looked at the dog lying on the examination table. Even with the foreign, her leg, she seemed more alert than she had all day. When Lisa reached out to pet her head, the dog's eyes focused on her face for the first time. "What happens if I can't afford everything?" Lisa asked quietly. Dr. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "We'll work something out. I can tell you care about her, and that matters more than you might think. Let's take this one step at a time." As they waited for the blood test results, Lisa sat on the floor next to the examination table. The dog had laid her head down but kept her eyes open, watching Lisa. It was like she was afraid to trust this kindness, but couldn't help hoping anyway. Lisa realized she was afraid too. Afraid of the vet bills. Afraid of failing. Afraid of losing this dog she had known for only a few hours but somehow already cared about. But looking at those trusting eyes, she knew she was going to try anyway. The first night at home was the longest night of Lisa's life. She had never realized how quiet her apartment was until she found herself listening to every breath the dog took. Dr. Rodriguez had sent them home with bags of medication, special food, and strict instructions about feeding schedules. Lisa had made a soft bed on the living room floor using every pillow and blanket she owned. The dog had collapsed onto it immediately and hadn't moved since. Her breathing was still shallow and labored, and Lisa was terrified she might not make it through the night at 2 in the morning. Lisa gave up trying to sleep in her own bed. She grabbed a spare blanket and lay down on the floor next to the dog. Every few minutes, she would reach out just to make sure she was still breathing. The dog's body felt so fragile under Lisa's hand. "You're going to be okay," Lisa whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was trying to convince the dog or herself. "We're going to figure this out together." The morning brought new challenges. The dog wouldn't eat the special food Dr. Rodriguez had recommended. She would sniff it, then turn her head away and lie back down. Lisa tried mixing it with warm water, then with a little chicken broth, but nothing worked. By the third day, Lisa was panicking. She called the vet clinic in tears. "She still won't eat anything. What if she starves?" "Bring her in," Dr. Rodriguez said calmly. "Sometimes they need a little extra help getting started." At the clinic, they discovered the dog had painful sores in her mouth from malnutrition. Dr. Rodriguez gave her an injection for the pain and showed Lisa how to feed her with a syringe if necessary. Recovery isn't a straight line, the doctor explained as Lisa watched her gently examine the dog's mouth. "There will be setbacks. But look, her gums are already a better color than they were 3 days ago." Lisa looked closely and realized Dr. Rodriguez was right. The dog's gums, which had been pale white before, now had a slight pink tinge. It was such a small change, but it felt like a victory. The real breakthrough came during the second week. Lisa had been sitting on the couch, paying bills on her laptop, when she heard a sound she hadn't heard before, a soft thump, thump, thump against the floor. She looked over and couldn't believe what she saw. The dog's tail was wagging. Not much, just a gentle movement against the blanket, but it was definitely wagging. And she was looking directly at Lisa with eyes that seemed brighter than before. "Hey there, beautiful girl," Lisa said softly, closing her laptop. "Are you feeling a little better?" The tail wagged faster. Lisa felt tears start running down her cheeks. It was such a simple thing, but after 2 weeks of worry, that little tail wag felt like a miracle dot over the next few weeks. Small improvements added up to big changes. The dog started eating on her own, slowly at first, then with more appetite. Her ribs began to disappear under a layer of healthy weight. Her coat, which had been dull and matted, started to grow in shinier and softer. But the biggest challenge wasn't physical, it was emotional. The dog was terrified of everything. Loud noises made her shake. When Lisa's neighbor slammed a door, the dog would hide under the coffee table for hours. She flinched whenever Lisa moved too quickly, as if she expected to be hurt. Lisa learned to move slowly and speak quietly. She started narrating everything she did. "I'm just going to the kitchen to get some water," she would say. "I'll be right back." Gradually, the dog began to relax when Lisa was around. The financial strain was harder than Lisa had expected. Between the initial emergency visit, follow-up appointments, medications, and special food, she had already spent over $1,000. Her savings account was nearly empty, and there were still more vet visits to come. Lisa picked up weekend catering jobs to help cover the costs. She sold her dining room table and some jewelry her grandmother had left her. When her friends invited her out for dinner or drinks, she had to say no. Every spare dollar went toward the dog's care. "You're crazy," her friend Jenny told her during a phone call. "It's just a dog, Lisa. You're going to bankrupt yourself over an animal you found at some sketchy auction." Lisa looked at the dog, who was now sleeping peacefully in a patch of sunlight by the window. Her breathing was steady and calm. "Nothing like those first terrifying nights. She's not just a dog," Lisa said quietly. "She's my dog, and she's depending on me." The transformation became more obvious each day. The dog began following Lisa around the apartment, always staying a few feet behind but clearly wanting to be near her. She discovered sunny spots by the windows and would spend hours there, just soaking up the warmth. One evening, about 6 weeks after the auction, Lisa was sitting on the floor sorting through bills when something soft bumped against her shoulder. She looked up to find the dog standing right next to her, holding an old rope toy that Lisa had bought weeks earlier, but had never seen her touch. "What's this?" Lisa asked, reaching for the toy. The dog dropped it in Lisa's lap and took a step back, tail wagging hopefully. It took Lisa a moment to realize what was happening. The dog wanted to play. They had a gentle tug-of-war that lasted maybe 30 seconds before the dog got tired. But for Lisa, it was better than winning the lottery. This scared, broken animal was finally starting to trust not just Lisa, but life itself. That night, for the first time since bringing her home, the dog climbed onto the couch next to Lisa while she watched TV. She curled up carefully, as if asking permission, and rested her head on Lisa's leg. Lisa stroked her soft ears and marveled at how much had changed. 7 weeks ago, this dog had been lying in a cage, too hopeless to lift her head. Now she was asking for attention and initiating play. The scared, skeletal creature from the auction was becoming a real dog again, one with personality, preferences, and most importantly, hope. "You're going to be just fine," Lisa whispered. And for the first time since that day at the auction, she truly believed it. 6 months after the auction, Lisa barely recognized the dog sleeping peacefully on her couch. Her coat was thick and shiny now, her eyes bright and alert. She had filled out to a healthy weight and moved with confidence instead of fear. But the biggest change wasn't in the dog, it was in Lisa herself. The experience had opened Lisa's eyes to a world she never knew existed. During one of their regular checkups, Dr. Rodriguez mentioned that she volunteered at a local animal rescue center on weekends. "You should come visit sometime," she suggested. "They could use someone with your patience and dedication." Lisa was curious. She had never thought of herself as particularly good with animals before, but caring for her dog had taught her things she didn't know she was capable of. The following Saturday, she decided to check it out. The rescue center was housed in an old warehouse on the edge of town. When Lisa walked in, she was overwhelmed by the sounds, barking, meowing, and the chatter of volunteers going about their work. A woman with paint-stained jeans and a warm smile approached her. "First time here?" the woman asked. "I'm Kate, and I run this place. Dr. Rodriguez told me you might stop by." Lisa nodded, suddenly feeling shy. Her dog stayed close to her side, taking in all the new smells and sounds. "I just wanted to see what you do here." Kate's face lit up when she saw Lisa's dog. "Is this the famous auction rescue? Rodriguez told me about her. She looks incredible." As Kate showed Lisa around the facility, Lisa learned about the constant stream of animals that needed help. Some came from situations similar to her dog's, neglected, abandoned, or surrendered when their families could no longer care for them. Others were strays or had been found injured. "The hardest part isn't the medical care," Kate explained as they walked past rows of kennels. "It's the emotional recovery. So many of these animals have given up hope. They need someone to show them that people can be trusted again." Lisa understood exactly what Kate meant. She had watched her own dog go through that same journey from despair to trust. In one kennel, she saw a small terrier mix cowering in the back corner, refusing to make eye contact with anyone who walked by. "How long has she been here?" Lisa asked. 3 months. She came from a hoarding situation, 73 dogs in one house. She's healthy now, but she's too scared to let anyone near her. Without thinking, Lisa knelt down next to the kennel. Her dog moved closer and lay down beside her. Something about seeing another calm dog seemed to catch the terrier's attention. For the first time, she lifted her head and looked at them. "That's more progress than we've seen in weeks," Kate said quietly. Lisa started volunteering the next weekend. She found that her dog had an amazing ability to help other scared animals feel safe. While Lisa worked with the human side of rescue, cleaning kennels, preparing food, In handling paperwork, her dog became an unofficial therapy animal for the new arrivals. One day, Kate asked Lisa to help with a particularly difficult case. A young retriever mix had been found tied to a tree, severely underweight and terrified of humans. He had been at the rescue for 2 weeks, but wouldn't let anyone get close enough to properly examine him. "We're running out of options," Kate admitted. "He won't eat when people are around, and he needs medical attention. Would you be willing to try?" Lisa and her dog sat outside the retriever's kennel for over an hour, not trying to interact, just being present. Slowly, the young dog's curiosity overcame his fear. He crept closer to the front of the kennel, drawn by the calm presence of Lisa's dog. Eventually, he ate a small meal while they watched. It was a tiny victory, but it was the beginning of his recovery. Over the following weeks, Lisa worked with him regularly, using the same patience and consistency that had helped her own dog heal. Word spread about Lisa's success with traumatized animals. Other rescues in the area started asking for her help with their most difficult cases. Lisa found herself spending most of her free time at various rescue facilities, always with her dog by her side. Her dog seemed to understand her role perfectly. She would assess each new animal carefully, approaching the fearful ones slowly and playing more energetically with those who were ready for fun. It was like she remembered what it felt like to be hopeless and wanted to help others find their way back to trust. Lisa's apartment gradually filled with temporary residents. She became a foster home for animals that needed extra attention or recovery time. Her dog welcomed each newcomer, showing them that this was a safe place where they could heal. One evening, Lisa was filling out paperwork for a dog that had just been adopted when Kate sat down beside her. "You know, you've helped place over 30 animals in the past 6 months, Kate said. "That's more than some of our full-time volunteers manage." Lisa looked around the rescue center, bustling with activity even late in the evening. "I never thought I'd be doing something like this. A year ago, I didn't even own a houseplant." Kate laughed. "Funny how life works. You saved one dog, and now you're saving dozens." The comment made Lisa think. She had started this journey trying to save her dog, but somewhere along the way, the work had begun saving her too. Her life had purpose now in a way it never had before. Instead of just going through the motions at her day job, she was making a real difference in the world. Her dog, who had been lying quietly at her feet, stood up and stretched. She walked over to a kennel where a new arrival, an elderly beagle, with sad eyes, was lying alone. The dog lay down just outside the kennel, close enough to provide comfort, but not so close as to seem threatening. Lisa watched this interaction and felt a surge of pride. Her dog had become everything Lisa had hoped for and more. She wasn't just a pet or even a companion. She was a partner in something meaningful. Together, they were giving other animals what someone had given them, a second chance at happiness. As Lisa packed up her things to head home, she realized that the scared, broken dog from the auction had grown into something incredible. And in the process of helping her heal, Lisa had discovered parts of herself she never knew existed. They had both found their purpose in helping others find theirs. 2 years after that life-changing Saturday at the auction, Lisa found herself driving down the same winding country road. But this time, she wasn't alone. Her dog sat confidently in the passenger seat, wearing a bright blue vest that read "Therapy Dog in Training." In the back of her car were supplies, blankets, and medical equipment, everything needed for a rescue mission. Lisa had gotten a call that morning from Kate at the rescue center. Another animal auction was happening at the same facility where she had found her dog, and they had received reports that several animals in desperate need would be there. "I know it might be hard for you to go back there," Kate had said on the phone, "but you understand these auctions better than anyone. And your dog, well, she has a way of reaching the ones that have given up." Lisa hadn't hesitated. She knew exactly what those animals were going through. When they arrived at the auction facility, Lisa felt a strange mix of emotions. The parking lot looked the same, filled with trucks and people in work clothes. But now Lisa was part of a different group, a network of rescuers who came to these events not to bid on livestock, but to save lives. Her dog seemed to remember the place too. She walked with purpose toward the building where they had first met, her tail wagging with confidence that hadn't existed 2 years ago. Several people recognized them from previous rescue operations and waved hello. Inside the secondary building, the scene was heartbreakingly familiar. Rows of small pens held dogs, cats, and other animals whose families could no longer keep them. The same heavy, sad atmosphere filled the room, but now Lisa knew how to navigate it. She moved systematically through the rows, her dog beside her, both of them looking for the animals most in need. Her dog had developed an instinct for this work. She would pause at certain pens, her body language telling Lisa that the animal inside needed special attention. Near the back of the building, almost the exact spot where Lisa had found her 2 years earlier, they discovered what they were looking for. A small puppy, maybe 4 months old, lay curled in the corner of a pen. He was thin and dirty, with patches of missing fur and eyes that held the same hopeless look Lisa remembered so well. The cardboard sign on his pen read "Last Chance, No Reserve," just like before. Lisa knelt down next to the pen, and her dog lay down beside her. The puppy lifted his head slightly, drawn by their calm presence. For a moment, Lisa was transported back to that first day, remembering how terrified and desperate she had felt. "Hey there, little guy," Lisa said softly. "We're going to get you out of here." This time, Lisa knew exactly what to do. She had the phone numbers of veterinarians who would see emergency cases. She had a network of foster homes ready to help with recovery. She had learned about nutrition, medical care, and behavioral rehabilitation. Most importantly, she had hoped out the bidding, for the puppy started at $10. Lisa raised her hand immediately, but this time she wasn't the only one. 2 other rescue volunteers were also bidding. The price went up to $30 before Lisa won. As they prepared to leave with the puppy, the same man in overalls who had helped Lisa 2 years ago approached them. "You're the lady who took that sick shepherd, aren't you?" he asked with a smile. "I remember you. How'd that work out?" Lisa gestured to her dog, who was standing alertly beside the puppy's carrier, clearly ready to take on her new mentoring role. "See for yourself." The man's face broke into a wide grin. "Well, I'll be. She looks like a completely different dog. And now you're back helping more of them?" "It became my life's work," Lisa said simply. On the drive home, Lisa thought about how much had changed. The puppy was sleeping in a carrier in the back seat, probably the first peaceful sleep he'd had in weeks. Her dog kept turning around to check on him. Already taking her guardian role seriously, Lisa's phone rang. It was Dr. Rodriguez, calling to confirm the appointment she had scheduled for the puppy. Over the past 2 years, Dr. Rodriguez had become more than a veterinarian to Lisa. She was a mentor, a friend, and a partner in rescue work. "How's our new patient doing?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "Sleeping peacefully for now, but he's going to need a lot of work. Reminds me of another case you might remember." Dr. Rodriguez laughed. "I remember a very scared woman who thought she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Look how that turned out." After the call, Lisa pulled into her driveway. But it wasn't the same small apartment building from 2 years ago. Lisa had moved to a house with a yard, a house that was officially licensed as a foster facility. The Happy Tales rescue sign in her front yard was something she never could have imagined back then. Inside, 3 other foster dogs greeted them at the door. Each one was at a different stage of recovery, and each one had learned from Lisa's dog that humans could be trusted. Her dog had become the perfect ambassador, showing newcomers that this was a place where healing happened. Lisa set up a quiet space for the new puppy, just as she had done for dozens of others. Her dog positioned herself nearby, not too close to overwhelm the frightened puppy, but close enough to provide comfort. As Lisa watched her dog take on her familiar role as protector and teacher, she reflected on the incredible journey they had shared. The scared, broken dog from the auction had not only recovered completely, but had become a source of healing. For others, that evening, Lisa sat at her computer updating the rescue website with photos and stories of recent adoptions. On the wall, above her desk hung a photo from that first day at the vet clinic. Her dog, skeletal and frightened, connected to an IV. Next to it was a recent photo of the same dog, healthy and confident, surrounded by a litter of puppies she had helped foster. The new puppy had eaten a small meal and was sleeping peacefully in his bed. Lisa's dog lay nearby, one eye always open to watch over him. It was the same protective instinct that had helped heal so many others. Lisa realized that the decision she had made 2 years ago at the auction had created ripples that extended far beyond anything she could have imagined. Saving one dog had led to saving dozens more. It had connected her with a community of people who shared her passion for helping animals. It had given her a purpose that made her jump out of bed every morning excited for the day ahead. But more than anything, it had shown her that sometimes the most important decisions we make happen in an instant, when our hearts tell us to act even though our heads are full of doubt. As she turned off the lights and headed to bed, Lisa's dog followed her, just as she had every night for 2 years. The new puppy was already showing signs of trust, and Lisa knew that in time, he too would learn that love was possible again. The circle was complete, but it was also just beginning.